Okay, so our final section today, or so this morning I should say, is a panel discussion. We're talking about redefining your MVNO through brand innovation. I'd like to welcome onto stage Andy, Angelina and Carlos, please, for this panel discussion. So please come and take your seats. Fabulous. So let's first start with some initial introductions. I think I'll start with Carlos because he's right here to my left. So please introduce yourself, where you're from, which brand you represent, and maybe a little bit of background on yourself, please.
Okay, morning everyone. So my name is Carlos. I came from Portugal. I'm the managing director of U. U is the first 100% digital brand that was released in Portugal 5 years ago. We are a sub-brand of an MNO in Portugal, NOS, one of the leading companies. And I will keep the rest for the conversation.
Perfect. Let's go to Angelina next.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angelina. I represent Lebara. I'm Lebara's brand and UX design lead. And I come from many places, I'm not sure. Recently from the Netherlands, originally from Russia. So I'm in the UK now, very happy about it.
Thank you. Finally, Andy.
Hi, I'm Andy. I ask questions. I'm one of the co-founders of Honest Mobile. We're a challenger mobile network here in the UK, been running for the last 5 years. I guess over the years I've done everything. I built our first tech platform. I star in our ads. Thankfully, there are now other people involved too.
And I'm sure modesty has forbidden you from also mentioning that you were recently on Dragon's Den as well.
Well, that's a very important fact as well, yes.
Brilliant. Well, look, let's start with our discussion. So Carlos, let's go to you first. I mean, you manage a digital brand. Can you talk us through how you developed that brand so that it could suit a sort of digital native audience of customers? So talk us through what constitutes your brand and how you designed and built it.
Well, at the beginning, 5 years ago, when we came up with the idea of creating U, we know that the consumer behavior is going to change. It was already changing. Subscription models were rising everywhere on Netflix, Spotify, and that types of platforms, and we knew that that change would come to telcos, and so we need to be prepared for that. We need to create a new type of working, a new type of acquiring customers, and specific because these new customers, they don't want telcos. They want connectivity, they want simplicity on their lives, they want things to get work, to be fair price, to be seamless on their day-to-day experience. So for the beginning, we started with a simple proposition. We are not going to create a telco, we are going to create a consumer app. And so this consumer app is going to deliver internet, it's going to deliver mobile network, fiber connectivity for home, digital television experience, and all of that things, but it's going to be a consumer app. So that starts on the product, on the way that we wanted to enter the market with this very specific value proposition. And upon that, we're starting to create a brand that could somehow personify this type of new product that will come to the market, the subscription based. So we created the Who with the statement of the, it's difficult to translate, but it kind of is what was missing out in the market, and we kept it simple. Our brand was very simple lines, very bold lines, and it was forbidden to use small letters, to use asterisk and all that type of stuff. So we were keep it simple, direct. So we had very specific brand rules that we were obliged to maintain. We don't have the hidden prices. We don't have. We made a proposition. If, for instance, we drop prices, the prices are available for all the clients. So the brand communicates all that type of simplicity and fairness to the market.
Thank you. And I guess as you went on that journey, there were certain decisions you had to make, and possibly they were not the usual way of doing things in the market, right? You mentioned that you give your customers, your existing customers, the same good deals that you give to your new customers, for example, which isn't generally the norm. So talk me through how you managed to keep yourself honest to your values of doing that, and maybe whether there was any friction with the parental brand in having those conversations.
Well, there were some board discussions, very harsh on that, but I believe that the company was well aligned on the necessity of creating this, because the market is going to change in that direction. We can try to close your eyes and see what is coming, or you can try to be a part of the change. We know that we were very sure that the entire population are not going to change to this type of approach. So we knew that this is, and still is nowadays, a niche market, but of course is growing, and we need to be prepared on that. So of course the discussions are on that, but we somehow had the mandate to create this opportunity. And once you decide to play the game, we made a good decision on the board on that. I believe when we decide to play the game, you need to go there, play. You cannot be sit on the bench and trying to change the rules of the game. This is the game you want to play. Let's go for it and go play it and be prepared. Nowadays, more other brands are coming to the market. New entrants are coming to the market, and who it's leading that type of creation of this new market, that it's not so digital native as it was 5 years ago. Now it's digital native / low cost market. But now we have the customers more satisfied. If you go to Trustpilot, to other type of social proof platforms that we have in Portugal, who is leading them, and of course now we have a market that is rising. So this low cost / digital market is rising in Portugal nowadays, and we are fighting very well with them because we started back then. We take this courage of embracing this change. It was not easy discussions, because at the end of the day the P&L and the EBITDA was on the menu, but I believe that we came to an equilibrium of what things could be.
Perfect, thank you. I'm going to bring you in, Andy, now, if I may, because obviously you lead very strongly with your brand credentials, and if you could maybe give a summary of those in a second. But also it's about the experience as well as the brand and the marketing, isn't it? So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. So I guess we set up Honest with the same brand insight that basically everyone in this room has, which is that people hate their incumbent. It's like there's 100 different ways of dressing that up, but we all believe the same thing. Sorry, MNOs in the room. I always hate doing this. And that was our initial insight. I think when people talk about brand, they think way too much about the look and feel of something, right? Like we've had 3 icons, 3 color schemes, 3 different slogans over the last 5 years. But our brand is basically the same. Like our brand is mobile done right. And we want to be a B Corp. We're the first B Corp in the UK. giffgaff's followed suit, which is incredible. We have been net zero since day zero. And so all of those things that really make up the brand and the customer experience have stayed pretty consistent. And what I think really makes a difference is that in this room where we all believe the incumbents aren't meeting every customer's need, you've still got to differentiate amongst yourselves, right? Like all of our biggest competitors are the MNOs generally, and generally MVNOs winning, whoever it is a good thing. But there's also a lot of Me Too players out there as well. And so I think having like a genuinely better technical solution to people is really important. Like if everyone was super rational, they'd go and buy ID Mobile's unlimited plan because it's the cheapest on the market. Like it just is. Almost every day, that's the cheapest plan you could buy. And so if people were super rational, everyone would have that. But people are not super rational. Some people want O2 because they can get Beyonce tickets easily. Some people want Honest because we're net zero. But where we saw the real unlock on growth was when we launched a second product, which was our sort of pure eSIM play, which has national roaming. And suddenly saying to customers, we can give you 4 times better signal than anyone else in the UK, that was like a watershed moment for us of like night and day. Like it's transformed the business. And the amazing thing is no MNO would ever launch that. And so we've kind of tapped into this sweet spot where it's an MVNO only proposition. No MNO will ever launch it. Lots of MVNOs can't launch it because they're sub-brands or they've got exclusivity deals, which is also good for us. But I guess my point is that I think just talking about the look and feel as your brand or just saying we're a challenger, I think that leaves a lot of money on the table that you can tap into by offering something genuinely innovative as well.
Thank you. And I guess I might come to the other guys as well. So what you've described there is you found a unique thing that you could solve for customers in a useful and interesting way, and they ended up buying it from you lots, basically.
Correct. Good summary.
So I guess if I talk to Carlos first and then maybe come to Angelina, what are the unique customer challenges that you're serving with your proposition? Andy's found this niche and he's solved I think a general frustration about coverage, which is possibly more localized in the UK than it is in other markets, but it's a very genuine frustration. What do you guys do in terms of what problems are you solving for your customers?
I cannot say the words like Andy was saying so harsh regarding the MNOs, but of course we know that people had problems. People don't have a good relation with telco or incumbent operators. That's why at the beginning we didn't create a telco. We created a consumer app to give them internet. So the first thing was people didn't want so much services, so a lot of things, so a lot of contracts and stuff like that. So the first thing that we solve, we give them simplicity. Also simplicity of choice. We have 2 mobile tariffs, 1 fixed internet tariffs and 1 television tariff, nothing more. Simple as that. So we create simplicity to their lives. And creating this challenge of having a relation with a telco operator doesn't need to be a complicated thing, sometimes in a war with them. No, other things. We don't do outbound calls. We are not going to make your life harsh, calling you all the time, trying to sell you more services. No, we have a 24/7 chat on your application. You can talk with us if you have any problem, and that's it. So I believe that was the first thing that we addressed. So simplify the life and the relationship between our customers and telcos. And that the second way we could start delivering lower prices on that, because we were removing these added services that at all was not giving so much added value to the customer. And of course we could compete with cheaper price. That is also very good for adoption. Not so good for EBITDA and other types of discussion, but of course, in terms of client adoption was. So we could give them simplicity and a more fair price for the product.
Thank you. So Angelina, same question to you. What unique challenges do you solve? And it's probably also worth maybe talking a little bit about your brand journey as well, because you've transformed over time, haven't you? Not you personally, but the brand.
Yeah, I find it quite interesting that I think we are all kind of talking about more or less the same things, to be honest. So basically we try to make things simpler for our customers, cheaper, more transparent, hassle-free, stuff like that. So what we thought at Lebara is we also want to bring our customers joy and create such experiences for them so that they actually start loving us as a brand. And I believe that this brand differentiation lies very much into the emotional field, which is like extremely difficult to kind of, like grab, like how do you measure it? What are the ROI? What is the data? But I think basically what we are doing now, we are turning our regular brand proposition. I believe we are all doing more or less the same thing. we are turning it into a pleasurable user experience, from starting with getting to know us, like, you know, like some first introduction via our website, for example, or any like point of sale, whatever, an ad. And then how this first impression gets translated into your actual experience with us as a company, as a brand. So you go on our website, how easy it is to, is it the same as what I saw in there? Does it translate the feeling that I got from that ad? Does it then, okay, so it was a cool feeling. Does it then translate into a pleasurable user experience when I try to purchase a plan or find the best deal, or buy a travel eSIM? That's what we've just launched as well as our sub-brand. Is it all connected? Does it all create this genuine, pleasurable feeling from dealing with the brand? And that's where the brand refresh came in. It came in basically from the user research. We do a lot of user research, which is a great thing to do, where we kind of learned that people think we are actually great and what we offer is great, but we don't look so cool as what we promise. It's like the design is slightly outdated, like it's all slightly, there is no feeling of a challenger brand. So that is what we are fixing at the moment, and our concept phase is done, and we are launching digitally next year.
Fantastic. And I think there's some really interesting threads we can pull on there, maybe, and anyone please jump into this, because I think Andy talked about the idea of taking a rational decision, right? And I completely support you. If people made rational decisions, no one would have a mobile network operator SIM in their handset, because it just wouldn't stack up financially. If you ran a spreadsheet, it just wouldn't work. What you're drawing out is the emotional side of it, and that is why people stay with big brands like Vodafone or Three or whoever it might be, because they've got an emotional tie to that. They buy into the concept. And what you've talked about there, Angelina, is then how you make certain that you are developing that joy, developing that emotional attachment, but more importantly, translating that into the journey across your brand touch points. And I think that's easy to talk about and difficult to execute, because you're constantly having to challenge yourself in terms of, you know, is this what my customers would expect from me? I don't know if anyone's got some sort of commentary you'd like to add on that. Looks like Andy's got something to say.
Yeah, I guess we've had sort of an interesting experience with, so our new product, it's called Smart SIM. It connects you to all 4 networks in the UK, but we just give you walled garden access. There's about 500 apps we support. So people are kind of confused by it when they first hear about it. And also, if you run a Facebook ad, so we acquire almost all of our customers through Facebook, and so we have this really great journey where we show them an ad, then we show them a landing page, then we show them a checkout, and so we see where the sort of mismatch happens. And we went through this phase where we were kind of selling the dream. Access all 4 networks in the UK, £3.75 a month. Like, what's not to love? And people would land on the landing page, and it would explain, oh, it only has 500 apps, it doesn't have calling. And, you know, there was just this sort of death. No one ordered. And then you realize what's going on, and you improve the ad, and you explain the product, you scratch the pain point, you explain how it works, how it doesn't work. And so I think that sort of joined up approach the whole way through is so important, and a brand marketer would know that, but we're learning as we go. Yeah, so I think having that sort of cohesive journey is really important, and it comes back to some of the things Carlos was saying about, like, playing the game you're playing. Like, if you say that you aren't going to rip off your old customers, you can't rip them off. Like, it's really easy, actually. Oh, it's really easy if you don't have a board that doesn't like it. But sometimes being that challenger brand or being called honest makes it really easy to make those decisions as well, and gives you that consistency the whole way through the sort of experience of being a customer.
And just adding the point of the you mentioning the people are attached to the main incumbent brands, but I believe they are more attached to the inertia of making changes and the inertia of well, this worked for the last 10 years on my life. I turn on the television and things are working. I turn on my mobile phone and it's working. And people are afraid of change. So that's one of the most difficult things to do. And I believe Andy was mentioning that how it's hard to create this value proposition that can break this inertia. And so I believe that that is the most challenging thing to do on creating this brand, because at the end, making things simple is okay. It's basic, but now try to convince people with that is very difficult. What Angelina was mentioning, creating a very no friction process, creating the change is very important. One of the things that we have done in the beginning of launching Woo was using the try and buy. So we had a lot of trying to break this friction. We do a lot of try and buy, like Netflix, Spotify were doing on the first years of their lives. That was very helpful for us to create this. Now, fortunately, we already have one person on a group of 10 that is already a Woo customer, so we can do that work for us, so we don't need to do. So trying to break this inertia is the most difficult thing to do. On the brand perspective, Angelina, you know better than me, it can be much more difficult to reach that. In terms of creating this digital conversion, we make it simple. If you make it simple for your customer with no friction, so 2-3 steps on conversion, and if possible, these try and buy opportunities can be very good to create these entrance barriers.
Thank you. Yeah, I think as a former marketing director for MVNO, I think what's really encouraging is everyone on the stage so far has talked about customers first. It's about making it right for the customer, and through making things simple in the telecoms market, you're taking on board quite a lot of complexity for yourself, because it isn't simple. It's been manufactured in an unsimple way, and then trying to translate that into simplicity for your customers can be quite challenging. Angelina, you touched on your brand refresh. I'm quite interested because you're a multinational brand. Lebara is present in multiple markets. I'm just interested to explore, does that add some additional unique challenges for you when you're refreshing a brand?
In all honesty, I wish we were represented in more markets than just 5, and I will explain why. If you take Wise, for example, they underwent a very significant rebrand a couple of years ago, and they're represented in more than 100 markets, 135 if I'm not mistaken. So I believe this actually makes it simpler, because you just roll out with one identity for all the markets and that's it, right? So you try to make sure that it's universal enough, and that is it. But as we are in only 5 markets, every market has something to say. And we need to listen, because it's very important, right? The markets are, we as group, we help our markets basically make money and be successful. So we cannot say like, France, you know, keep it to yourself. Really can't do that. So how we went about this challenge is, let me start with the initial challenge. So how it goes now with our current branding is that it's not very structured. So every country decided to interpret it in their own ways, which led to certain inconsistencies, which is not great for the brand. So what we did with the brand refresh, we baked it in, this flexibility. So our brand can look slightly different within the same guidelines. I can't, unfortunately, show you anything yet because we are not launched yet. But that's the idea, that the branding is flexible. It can go from pretty calm to pretty crazy, depending on the market need, on the market itself. Maybe it's a more conservative market, if it exists at all. Or the customer base is more conservative, the research says, for example. Or it's an email, you know, so we would like to look calmer there, not to, you know, overdo it, you know, in an email. Or we want to go with a crazy ad campaign, literally showing and telling that we're a challenger brand. So we want to go with a lot of dynamic there. So yeah, that was the creative solution to this issue.
Thank you. I've got one more question for the panel, and then I'm going to throw it open to the audience. So fair warning, I'll be looking at you to ask some questions. So I guess we've talked a lot about brand, and building a brand takes time and effort and energy and often expense as well. It's quite an intangible thing. So I'm just interested in your perspective of how you justify the costs of maintaining a brand, and how you justify, maybe not so much for Andy because you know he's the boss, but how you justify, you know, brand expenditure when you might not be able to draw a direct line of sight to growth from those brand actions. So why don't I bring Andy in first, because you've had a bit of a supercharge recently, so maybe talk about that a bit.
Yeah, so I guess maybe it's easier for me to talk about it in terms of like above the line marketing, which is the sort of marketing efforts you do where you sponsor a football stadium or you sponsor the Uber boat down on the river that I can see, versus the sort of direct response marketing where you're like, that is going to sell me a SIM card right now, this second on Facebook. And historically, we've always done the latter because we know that if we spend £1,000, we get X number of SIMs. And that's really easy to justify to a board. I'm an old accountant. It's really easy to justify to myself. You know, we've started to see that, like, there's a limit to that, though. And so maybe 18 months ago, we started a few above-the-line campaign ideas. And so we've done effectively two. One was a £500,000 print media campaign, which I would say was the biggest waste of money we've ever had. We maybe sold 10 SIMs. Like, I mean, I don't want to say it was a catastrophe, but if you just look at what we spent, how many SIMs used that promo code, it was awful. But it built brand awareness, right? Like, if you run a print campaign over the course of a year in the paper, you gradually see your Facebook CACs or your direct response ads getting cheaper and cheaper to run. And there's sort of no way of explaining it, except that brand's working. And then, so that's kind of the first thing we saw. And then the second thing we did was we went on Dragon's Den. We were on it. It aired a month ago. And since we aired, we now sell more SIMs in a day than we sold in the first 5 years of the business. Now, like, that's the great thing about exponential growth. Like, it's exponential. So you could say that of anything. It wasn't Dragon's Den that did that. That's just how exponential growth works. But it's all building that momentum of brand awareness and brand affinity. And, you know, if we'd paid for that airtime slot, it was probably a couple of £1 million. So again, if we unpicked the acquisition cost per SIM, it would be staggeringly high. But the reason we got there is because we had a brand, because it was interesting, because we'd invested in it, and because I'm willing to say slightly controversial things, it makes good TV. But that's the way to justify it, right? Like, we all work in... The three of us all work in organizations big enough that they can justify spending on brand. I think it's really difficult on day zero with a credit card to be like, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll invest really heavily in brand. What I'd actually love to do is start again today, ideally with some money. But with the power of like AI and stuff, I think you could actually do a lot of the heavy lifting for a lot less than people have done in the past. So that Wise rebrand allegedly cost in the region of a couple of £1 million. You would not get the same work as Ragged Edge produce. They are incredible, but you could do some of the heavy lifting for a lot less than £2 million these days, whereas you would not have been able to do 5 years ago.
Perfect. Carlos, do you have some views on return on your brand investment? And then we'll leave the final word with Angelina.
I believe that Andy touched the point that was driven most of us was we don't do a lot of brand awareness. We start doing that more this year because we already have a nice base of clients that could help disseminate the message. the market is already penetrated with 3 more competitors, so we believe that it comes out the time that we need to start doing some brand awareness. But at the beginning, when we started this, we created one of the fast changes that we made. We established this brand budget, monthly budgets to do digital campaigns, because we are addressing digital audiences and digital native clients. So we didn't go to television, and that's the right choice to do. These above the line on television campaigns usually are difficult to pay out. Specific for our segment, but we rapidly changed from having a monthly budget to having a cost per acquisition defined for a client for doing these digital campaigns. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much you are spending, because everything you are spending has a cost per acquisition associated, a cost of sales that you are able to support. And so we kind of discipline ourselves on doing this acquisition. We had time, so that's why we started 5 years ago. We had time, we can grow slowly. This exponential grow eventually will come up at a time, or you keep on in a steady state and we'll go growing. So give time to your investment, like the other ones. And don't go on a rush, and don't believe that spending 2 million on television ATL campaign is going to bring you the success of your lives. It's not going to do that way. So we didn't fight, so to be direct to your question, we don't fight that war of explaining the brand awareness expand. We just use it as a commercial. So it was a commercial cost, not a brand cost, if you can put it on that way. Until now that we already have some numbers, and so we can able to try to look for this exponential growth with small campaigns.
Thank you. Final word.
Thanks. Yeah, I think my response will be twofold, but I will try to make it fast. So to end this point on a rational choice, well, ultimately we will all end up on a, like a ChatGPT list of companies who offer, the cheapest price, and then what do we do to compete with this cheapest offer then, right? But then again, I will go back to this kind of overall experience. That is what a brand is. It's your overall experience with all the touch points. So going back to the emotional thing that people have with brands, people love brands. I'm sure we don't love Microsoft Office very much, none of us, but we are forced to use it because there is no other choice. But what if you could choose? I would pay to use something else, literally. So yeah, so I believe that people are ready to pay to be connected to a brand that they love. So we are working, again, in this emotional field here. And the second part of my response is user research. That's it. That's how this information came to us in the first place, from our Dutch research, that people don't perceive us as a cool brand anymore. Although they love the proposition, so that's a very open problem there. So when you have done the rebrand, check again with your users, with your customers, check with them if they love it, and then obviously we can always see the growing numbers of customer acquisition, of brand awareness, perception, brand for me. And if these numbers started to grow from the moment of the rebranding, I think there is something there.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's been a really interesting discussion. We've probably got time for maybe 1 or 2 questions. So anyone in the audience, have you got a question for the yes, we've got one at the back there. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for the insightful presentation and the inputs. I had a question for all the 3 MVNOs. So normally you want to be close to the customer, listen to them, respond back. So what's your experience been with, this is expensive, with a help desk, to go for chatbots and versus a human response to you?
Who would like to go first on that one? So I think to encapsulate your question, it's the brand experience specifically in a care environment where you're talking to a person or a chatbot, and what does that do to the brand? Is your question?
Exactly, and then it's because it's expensive to have, let's say, people on the phones versus it's less personal if you have a chatbot responding to your answers. And MVNOs, they are not MNOs, so you don't have that much, let's say, money. So what's your kind of solution or experience or experiments on this?
I can go first on that. What we created was a chat first. So because of that budget constraint, and you can imagine that an operator can talk on a chat with 5 clients at a time, and on a line they are stuck to only one person. So that was the first decision that we make. So don't have call lines. Actually, we have for some specific part of our customers that don't have the possibility to use the chat, but it only represents 10 to 20% of our inbound subjects that we attend. The majority of them go to chat. So that approach of having this chat 24/7 that was delivering this connectivity to help our customers was very interesting and with very good results at the first time. Then came the optimization with AI. So 1 year and a half ago, we implemented an AI chatbot that somehow is integrated with our catalog, with our CRM, with our systems, that can help client on basic things. So if client comes to request the PIN number, or to know a specific value that he was charged, or those things related to their CRM or their catalog or their billing, is able to give them support automatically. But if he had a major problem, we can go to talk to a human, so it doesn't end over. We were able to reduce by 70% the human handover with this experience, and maintaining the high levels of client satisfaction in terms of the care that we provide to them. So we made this journey. Now we are still optimizing it a little more, because we don't have a major contact center operation like a big player, and we also don't want that, and we believe that our customers also don't want to be half an hour on a line to solve their problems.
So seeing nods from the other two panelists. Anything more to add to that?
Not much. I just think it's about giving people a choice, right? Like, if you want to speak to an AI bot that will help you out at 2 o'clock in the morning, fab. If you want to wait until 10 a.m. and speak to one of the really friendly customer support team, fab. I don't think it's sort of a take it or leave it. I think the other thing is that chatbots have a bad reputation, right? Like, everyone remembers what they were like in the 90s, or if you phone American Express today and you're like, my card's not working, and they're like, would you like to go to France? And you're like, no. They work really well today. Like, they're really frickin' good. You need to feed them useful information, and you'll be able to find one that's written you a flan recipe because it's been poorly set up, but like, they're really good. And so, yeah, about 70% of our contact center stuff is done through AI these days. Most of it's kind of FAQE type stuff. How does this work? How does that work? We're about to kick off a new phase where we connect it to the back end, and it'll be able to do charges, plan changes, cancellations, refunds. I think as MVNOs, trust's really important. Someone earlier was saying that kind of the trust of being like, it's how you access your bank. If your SMSs aren't working, you can't get universal credit. Like, it really does matter, and so there's a big trust element. But we're not that complicated as support businesses. There's only so much that can go wrong. Yeah.
I think just very shortly, at Lebara you can always speak to a human being if you really want to. But we do encourage chat and bot conversations and solutions, and we have an amazing chat and bot team, and it's obviously AI powered and all the things. What we make a big deal out of is to, again, translate our brand in these conversations as well. What is the tone of voice? what are you saying exactly? How do you program, how do you train your AI model to talk to people depending on their requests? How it looks like? Yeah, so it's a lot of creativity can be explored there, definitely.
Thank you. That's really good. And I think my final sort of observation on that is it sort of depends on your target audience as well, right? There is a whole generation of people where the idea of talking to another human is really not very popular. And so if they can do it in a quicker, more easily accessible way, they might take that. We're pretty much out of time. So I'm going to ask you all to show your thanks to the panelists in the time-honoured tradition. Thank you, panelists.